This is the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast. If you're looking to explore Sierra Leone and understand its culture and its people, you've come to the right place. On every show, you'll meet Sierra Leonean creatives and entrepreneurs overcoming challenges and beating the odds. They are artists, filmmakers, musicians, chefs, writers, storytellers, and designers leading Sierra Leone's orange economy, both at home and from the diaspora. I'm your host, Vickie Remoe, journalist, entrepreneur, and community builder on a mission to expand Sierra Leone's presence on the web. Hashtag Make Sierra Leone Famous. The other voice you'll hear on Make Sierra Leone Famous is sound engineer and producer Frankvin Bob McEwen at VRNC Marketing Company in Freetown, where this show is mixed and mastered. Now, make the show begin.
When you think of the size of some of the empires, like the Songhai Empire, the Mali Empire, all the trading that they used to do, what are they supposed to do? Just memorize it? You know, all your business transactions? I mean, these were, they have, you know, they had courts, they had all sorts of things going on. You can't just memorize that stuff. So there must have been some way of writing it. Obviously, you know, if they were Muslim, maybe they had Arabic, but they also had, you know, indigenous scripts that are way older. I mean, all this, you know, civilization began in Africa. Writing systems began in Africa. But, you know, we don't learn this, especially when you're educated in the West. And I thought I was educated, but apparently I wasn't, you know, because I don't know anything about our own history. And so I love to include that sort of thing in my work. Like at the last exhibition, I had a painting about mitochondrial Eve, you know, the first woman that, you know, really gave birth to pretty much the whole of humanity. And it can be, if everybody traces their DNA back, it comes back to this one woman, you know, and this is an African woman.
Today on the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast, I'm talking to a woman who has made it possible for artists in Sierra Leone to not just value their work, but to also have a way to showcase their work by curating exposés and exhibitions for contemporary Sierra Leonean artists. In 2013, she founded the Barray Arts Collective, which is a collective that includes 15 local artists in Sierra Leone. And every year they hold 2 group exhibitions, the last of which I was at this December. And the theme of that one was Indestructible, and it was at Toma Hotel. And yeah, it's just like an amazing community that she's been able to create. But most importantly, she's also an artist. I mean, a lawyer / artist, okay? Making a living in those 2 worlds. I can't even imagine what that's like. Our guest for today is Hawa Jane Bangura, founder of the Barray Arts Collective, artist, and a lawyer in Sierra Leone. So, Hawa, thank you for where you don't come. Now we show.
Thank you for inviting me, Vickie. Lovely to see you.
You too. Okay, so first let's start with right now. So just this past week, I saw your work. I don't remember the name of that, but I remember the painting because I saw it. I saw the actual painting in Freetown at your last, in the exhibit that you held in December. Tell me how you've been able to enter into the NFT art world, because this is just an emerging trend in the last like years. NFT for art has like blown up, and people
really,
have become
it's really exciting.
millionaires overnight. How have you been able to enter into NFT, and what's the emerging scene, at least on the continent? And is this something that you feel like Sierra Leonean artists can really take advantage of?
Yeah. Well, I was invited to be part of another collective, and that's where I did the NFTs. The first one that I did, I wasn't so keen on it. You know, when they asked me, I said, you know, I don't do digital art. It's not my thing. And, you know, they said, you don't actually have to be a digital artist to be part of it. You can create a digital copy of your own paintings. So I did that, and it was in this marketplace. I don't remember which one it was. And really, literally within an hour, my painting sold. So I found that kind of exciting. And
Right.
so then I did another 3 for another marketplace called Maker's Place, and they got a lot of exposure. And I sold one at the end of last year, and the other 2 we're still working on. But it's a lot more than just making sales, because being part of the NFT world, I mean, you get to meet other NFT artists. And also when you're preparing your own work, you can, change it a little bit to make it into an NFT. I mean, you can change it 1,000 times. You can have, several different copies of it. So it's a different way of exploring your work as well, and making changes to it. It's a whole new marketplace, and I think it would be great for Sierra Leonean artists to be part of that. The limitations that we might have, I think probably with cryptocurrency, that might be a bit of a problem, because even I've had a hard time, trying to get hold of cryptocurrency. Like, for example, in order to maybe buy other people's work, or to mint stuff and things like that to pay for the costs of putting an NFT into the marketplace.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So this is probably the first conversation that anyone is having to Sierra Leonean or for Sierra Leonean audience about NFT and art. So maybe we should back up a little bit.
Okay, please don't. I'm not an expert on this either.
No.
Maybe some kind of limited.
No, I totally understand how the blockchain and the NFT and the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency, it's a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
But tell me, I mean, at least have enough knowledge to have been able to place your art, to sell your art, and to get the exposure. So tell me about the process. Like, if somebody wanted to get started today, like local artists in Sierra Leone, what are some of the basic things they need to know about NFT and with regards to art sales or getting into a marketplace?
Well, to be honest, as I said, I'm working with another collective, and that's the person that runs that collective is the one who's really been involved in doing all the technical stuff in terms of minting an NFT. I think it obtains a special and individual identification number to ensure that it is a unique and original piece created by the person who claims to have created it. And that's another process that, it's, I don't know the ins and outs of that.
So the key part is basically joining a collective, right? So like an Africa NFT collective. Okay.
No, you can do it on your own. I mean, there are different marketplaces. I mean, people need to do research on these things. Like there's OpenSea Foundation and, Maker's Place and different marketplaces. You can explore those. You need to have a crypto wallet though, for, I guess, making transactions. But I don't think you need to pay upfront in order to have something on, on one of the marketplaces. But I think it's when you're selling, when you're transacting, that you do need to have access to cryptocurrency to do that. I may be wrong. I don't know. Okay.
The Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast is made possible by .Blue. With its certified air freight service, .Blue is the easy and affordable way to ship to Salone from the US or from the US to Salone. No need to wait till someone is going home. .Blue will deliver your next package to Sierra Leone in 15 days or less. To ship with .Blue, contact us on WhatsApp on +1 240 460 2056 or +232 88 313 330. In Sierra Leone, you can find our office at 17A Wallace Johnson Street in Freetown. Fly and go with .Blue. We go deliver for you. DOTBLEU.com. Right. No, I know it is very new, and
Yeah.
it's very new and very novel, and I feel like we still don't know where it's going to go. There are lots of opportunities, but with everything that's emerging, sometimes it's like
Hmm.
it moves faster than like before you
Yeah.
even know what's happening. Like the industry is changing, the marketplace is
Right.
changing. There's so much going on, so it's still emerging. But I think that it's just great that you're a pioneer already in this space, so that the further along you get, I know that because of your work with the collective, it means that other people in the collective who might want to get into NFTs automatically, will have a point of reference to you, because
I hope
you're
so.
already
Yeah.
getting your feet in the water. Okay, what has been the most rewarding part of creating the Barray Collective?
Okay. I have to say that I didn't create it on my own. There were at least two of us together who co-founded this. This happened in about maybe 2013 or so. I had a friend of mine. We'd always talk about art, and eventually we started bringing artists together, and practicing, drawing, and talking about art, exchanging ideas and things like that, supporting each other. And then we met this other artist. Well, he came here to do some work on Ebola art therapy, and he's now like a world famous artist. He's been on the cover of Time magazine, on Oprah show, and things like that. His name is Nelson Makamo. So he really sort of encouraged us, and we saw the kind of success that he had already achieved at that point, and it sort of like sparked a fire in us, and he encouraged us to do exhibitions. So we did the first exhibition in 2015. And really, I had one of my friends tell me, oh, nobody's going to be interested, just do it Thursday and Friday, because we were planning to do like maybe 4 days or so. No, nobody's going to see, nobody wants to see that. So we did it anyway, and we did it at Bliss on Wilkinson Road, and literally the place was so crowded. People were sitting on the floor. They ran out of food, they ran out of drinks. People were really,
Wow.
really appreciative of it, even though the art was not particularly good. We were all starting, we just came with what we had, and but people really appreciated it. So that sort of gave us the zeal, like the spark to continue. And it's been really good. I mean, I particularly enjoy when maybe we'll pull somebody off the street and bring them into the exhibition, because I mean, then there's a lot of people who've never been to an art exhibition, people who you think maybe they've traveled around the world, but they've never been to an art exhibition. And that for me is like the best part, bringing people in and just having them have a look around, and then they begin to understand the value of art, and it's great. It's a way of having conversations with people, exploring different ideas, etc. So it's great.
Yeah. No, I love the part about being told that nobody wants this, nobody's going to be interested. Because
Yeah.
no, because with so many things in like that, if this was, in the 80s or the 70s or the 60s in Sierra Leone, nobody would say people aren't interested in
Right,
art.
right.
But because of like, what happened with the decline
Yes,
of arts and
war.
just creative sector during the war, that
Mm-hmm.
people forget arts. People forget the importance and how
Creativity.
art,
Mm-hmm.
arts and creative expression are like an essential part of life, right?
That's very true. Yeah.
And so essential also for African life. Like we are
Mm-hmm.
creative by DNA. And so for
Right,
you to
right.
say that you're gonna put on an exhibit and somebody's like, oh, people in a salon, they don't like at all, they don't want to. Because
Mm-hmm.
so many times, I mean, like it's a theme. Like every time I feel like somebody wants to start something new,
You have
that
someone
oh
crying them down.
yeah, there's this thing about how people will tell you nobody's interested in that. Nobody don't want that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But then oftentimes what you find is that people just don't have access. So once you
Right.
create the access, you can really be a catalyst for
People will come.
change.
Right,
And people
right.
will come. And yeah, I remember hearing about it because this was during Ebola that you did it. And
It was right at the end, right after
yeah, it was
Ebola
right. Yeah,
ended.
it was
Yeah,
like still at this time. And I feel like that's why even doing it then, people needed a break from that
that's true.
gore
That's very
and,
good timing. Yeah.
yeah, no, perfect timing.
Yeah.
How has over time, I mean, I know you had that initial kind of everybody just like really thirsting for this kind of outlet. But over time, how has the audience changed? Or there art collectors in Sierra Leone, or people actually purchasing the art, so that like the artists at least know that like this is a, because it's, you know, being a starving artist is only cool when you're not really starving. So
I think that's a bit of a myth.
what has the response been in terms of like from the audience? Have you been able to curate or find like an open audience who are willing to pay for the art?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people that are actually interested. I mean, the people who buy the art here are about 50% local people and about 50% foreigners. Um, and at the last exhibition, for example, we had people that had never ever come to the exhibition or bought art were now becoming more aware of it. And we sold quite a lot of pieces, you know, at quite high prices as well for Sierra Leone. So and there's still people who didn't know that we were doing exhibitions, even though that was like, I think the 11th or 12th exhibition that we done. And then we've had other groups of artists putting on exhibitions as well. You know, so it's like, it's growing. It's little by little, but it's beginning to grow. Because when we started, we were the only ones doing it up till about 2020. You know, we were the only people doing that. So it's wonderful. And I hope they start doing it up in, you know, up country and things like that as well.
Right. No, totally. I feel like I saw one recently. I forgot what, Reunion Arts or something like
Yes,
that. I feel like,
Reunion, and
yeah.
then Bondumani, you know, Isa too, and
Yeah,
some
no,
others as
I
well.
think it's
Yeah,
fabulous. And that's the thing about pioneering something, right? Like once
yeah,
there's that one person who becomes a point of reference that it is possible here,
yeah,
other people then will come into the space, and then it's better for everybody. The more players that there
right,
are in the space, the better it is for growth, for opportunities, and just like creating resources. So
right.
I really enjoy seeing that. For
And the
the
thing with that is that also, I mean, we didn't sit around waiting for somebody to come in and help us or give us something to do. We just built it on our own because we believed in it, and we thought that we believed that we could do it. So it's like our own initiative. We don't have any people coming in from anywhere else, you know, instructing us what to do or telling us how to do things.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, we've
no, no,
grown and done
you're
it
not waiting
ourselves.
for any
For an
saviors. No,
NGO,
no,
yeah, or so
no
no
NGO, no
saviors,
white,
no,
no white saviors coming
no
to
white
give you
saviors
art
for us.
and teach you to
Yeah,
be artists.
this is
No,
real, the real thing.
The radio broadcast of the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast on Radio Democracy 98.1 is made possible with a generous grant from the Asma James Foundation. The Asma James Foundation empowers women and girls with mentorship, scholarship, and life skills training. To make Sierra Leone better for girls and girls in Sierra Leone better, visit the Asma James Foundation at asma, that's ASMAA, james.com. And now, let's go back to the show. Listen, it really is the only way. I mean, I tell people all the time that like there really no one is coming to save you. And if someone is coming to
Exactly.
save you, you better believe that they're taking a bigger chunk of
Right.
whatever it is you're getting. And the only way to do this is really is to you do the grunt work. You know, it's a
Right.
slow, it not get happen overnight. You get for arts, there'll be challenges, but
Absolutely
you
not.
really
Yeah.
you just got to take that journey.
Yeah, and I hope that will inspire people, not only in the arts, but in other sectors as well, to just get up and do it, you know, get up and do it and work on it. And then
Absolutely.
it'll happen. Yeah.
What is the theme around your own art? What are you trying to say with your pieces? I mean, it's like they say that like art imitates life. And, you know, when I see your art, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if it's the art that's imitating life or it's the life that imitates art. Like, I feel like there's this like, I don't know where it is. Like, I don't,
Uh-huh.
like,
Well,
I feel like it's speaking to, but then it's also influenced by, like, there's so much, there's so much going on.
Well, being an African woman, I think it's up to me and up to other African women to depict ourselves and to tell our own stories. We can't, you know, sit back and let other people do it. And another thing that really fascinates me is our African history. You know, looking back at, like the ancient African writing systems, the history from Egypt on down to, the empires and, to where we are. Because a lot of that is missing. Before I lived in Sierra Leone, I really didn't know anything about African history. We just were not taught that in school. So I try to incorporate some of that in my art, particularly the writing systems. There's a writing system called, there's so many different writing systems just in West Africa alone. But there's one called the Bassa script. That's Bassa. And it was used in the area that is now known as Sierra Leone and Liberia. And so I try to incorporate that because I've never seen anything like it. And I think it's beautiful and it speaks to me like on a spiritual level. And then it gives you an opportunity to pass that knowledge on to someone else because a lot of people don't know what it is. And, so
I've heard
it's
of
like
Bassa.
advocating.
I've heard of
as a
Bassa
language.
in Liberia, the language, but I've never seen a script.
It was written. It was a written script,
And I've seen maybe the Mende alphabet script that I've seen as well. But when it comes to, we're all, the story we all get told about Africa is like, we don't have written, like,
right. It's
like,
all oral tradition.
It's all oral. Yeah. We're not ever like
oral tradition. I mean, when you think of the size of some of the empires, like the Songhai Empire, the Mali Empire, all the trading that they used to do, what are they supposed to do? Just memorize it? All your business transactions. I mean, they had courts, they had all sorts of things going on. You can't just memorize that stuff. So there must have been some way of writing it. Obviously, if they were Muslim, maybe they had Arabic, but they also had, indigenous scripts that are way older. I mean, all this, civilization began in Africa. Writing systems began in Africa. But, we don't learn this, especially when you're educated in the West. And I thought I was educated, but apparently I wasn't, because I don't know anything about our own history. And so I love to include that sort of thing in my work. Like at the last exhibition, I had a painting about mitochondrial Eve, the first woman that, really gave birth to pretty much the whole of humanity. And it can be, if everybody traces their DNA back, it comes back to this one woman, and this is an African woman. Yet African women are, not depicted that way in art. A lot of times you'll just see, big booties, somebody carrying a baby on her back, somebody downtrodden. And there's another side that we need to show as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with all that stuff. I'm not criticizing anybody, but there are other images that need to be projected as well. There's strength, there's power, there's, elegance, beauty, and all that. Yeah.
You just triggered me because one of like the things that gets me about African women's representation in art is that like it's so binary.
Right.
It's one or the other thing. Either she's a virgin maiden with like breasts up to here and her ass like that, so very young and objectified and sexualized, or it's the other one where she's working, she's in labor, she's
like, baby on the back, wood on her head,
on the back, pounding something, carrying something. One of the things you rarely get to see in contemporary African art is, first of all, like a modern African woman depicted in art. So, like in arts that I see, it's like African women are not in modern times. We're all rural and we're stuck in the village. And that's where we are.
Exactly.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is we're always working. There's no pleasure. Like you never see just like, she's just there sitting enjoying herself, relaxing,
wine or something. Yeah.
In food car, could they smoke cigarette? Life. And so that's really what draws me to your work. Sadly, the one, this indestructible, the mitochondrial Eve piece that you were talking about that I saw at your exhibit, somebody else had bought it. So that was just like, And then even previously, there was another series you did that there was a kind of like a digital element to it that had it was like I think this was not this.
With the bondage. Yeah, the bondage with the ladies who were like addicted to. Well, it was about our own addiction to like technology and cell phones and things like that.
I really could relate, girl, because I'm all like
exactly. We can all relate to that.
I was like, now we so now we didn't talk. Now we we're hooked. But that's what I mean about like the value of your work. That for me, it's that like I can relate to it in a
Right.
place that is very human,
Hmm.
versus like a caricature of and like some ideal of an African woman and what you're supposed to be, whatever, whatever. So I really,
Hmm.
really appreciate your work, which is why I told you I was in Boston at a friend's
Okay, and you saw
house.
it at
And
Yvonne's house.
yes, like
Yeah.
you will not know what that did for me. Okay, you will not know. To be like in Boston, like you're mentally removed from home in a way,
Right,
like,
right, right.
and then to like turn around and to see this big piece of art, and I was like, wait, Asabi, wait, I feel still familiar for me, so Asabi this, and I'm like, just like look, like you just did, so you're like, why is this looking
Take a
so
double
familiar? Like,
take.
yes, and then I was like, oh my god, it's Hawa Jane's piece. Oh, the joy. It was so
Thank
great. It was
you,
like
thank you.
everything. So, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I
one of
think
the
we
things,
need to take charge of our own narratives. I mean, a lot of times with a lot of things.
no,
I mean, it's
no,
not
no,
just
no, no.
like as women, but even as the whole African continent, and our how we present ourselves. Because I mean, if we leave it up to the Western media, we're all poor, we're all sick, we're all in the middle of some kind of crisis or whatever. I went to a show. It was an event, and there was an artist who had some work there. This was a number of years ago, and one of his paintings was of Bome. Bome is like a rubbish dump. Why would you paint that? We have got such a beautiful country. We've got beautiful people, but it's sort of like this narrative of poverty and all that stuff is what he's trying to reproduce. That's not, why does that have to be us? Why can't you paint the beautiful beaches or the mountains or your mother or something proper? Why are you painting a rubbish dump? It was a rubbish dump with little
What do you
kids. It was
think?
very sad. I was very sad when I saw that.
We will be right back after this short music break.
Street is up. I bought myself some coffee. I run outside the door. I'm working overtime. I'm working overtime for my lady boss. Later in the evening. Later in the evening. Long after we close the store, I bought myself some whiskey. She said we gotta work some more. I'm working overtime.
That was by Kamara Jr. and the Voodoo Sniffers with Lady Boss. And now let's head back to Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast.
How can artists, like, I feel like what I hear you talking about is just that, like, developing like a worldview and a perspective that allows you to see yourself through a different lens other than the one that a lot of us are conditioned
Forced
to
upon
believe
you.
in.
Yeah.
How can artists like start unlearning these things? Like, what's the process? Like, how do you break away from that and try to
Yeah.
work towards creating a new lens?
Well, that's really deep, because I mean, I think that goes all the way back to the beginning of the education system that we have in this country. I mean, I don't think kids learn here about African art. All they're taught is from colonialism onwards. Like Sierra Leone was discovered by some Portuguese explorer. Come on. I mean, what happened before that? Were we not part of some other maybe empire or some other state or whatever before we became Sierra Leone? Sierra Leone isn't even, it's a concept that it's a relic of colonialism. It's not something that came from us, it's foreign, but we don't go beyond that, so we're already limited in that way. I think each person needs to explore, to study, to research, to find out more, because you can use your art as a vehicle of, making these statements. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough one, but at the Barray, we choose a theme.
What are some of the resources that you've used or that you've sought out or that artists locally can use to kind of go through this process? Are there resources?
Well, I mean, it depends on what they're trying to say, you know, because I mean, you could make art about anything, you know. So if you're trying to make a statement about something, I think you should try and learn about it before you can make a statement about it. And, you know, maybe question, you know, maybe the knowledge that you already have, maybe double check it. Is it actually accurate? Like in the Barray, what we do is we'll choose a theme before we have an exhibition. And so we'll get together and we'll discuss it, you know, and we'll bounce ideas off each other. And, you know, this gets artists thinking about, you know, the work. And then each artist should produce at least one piece of work based on that theme, you know. So I think that gives the artist a chance to sit back and really think about what we're trying to say with that exhibition. So I think that's a thought, and maybe they can use that same thought process in, you know, the rest of their work. There's nothing wrong with, you know, putting out something that's beautiful as well, but, you know, also I think you have an opportunity to use your art as a way of making some sort of statement or advocating for something.
Who are the artists that have had like the most influence on your own work? Where do you draw inspiration?
Wow. So many, you know, some of the older stuff, like, you know, European artists, like Picasso and things like that. He's actually my favorite person. And then other contemporary African artists and, you know, Black American artists as well. There's an artist in Nigeria who I absolutely adore. His name is Joseph. I don't know how to pronounce the last name. I think it's E-Z-E or E-Z-E. He's Eze. I don't know. It's Igbo. I think Igbo.
Eze. Is it Joseph?
Yeah.
Eze. I will Google it and we'll find a way to say it.
He's on Instagram. You know, I just love his work because he deals a lot with, especially with, you know, the African woman, a beautiful.
Yes, these are
work.
gorgeous.
Yeah. So he's like,
it's kind of very Afro-futuristic.
Yeah, also with the traditional stuff in it, and also it always looks very spiritual and wonderful, you know.
And soft. It's like soft. Yeah. It's intense, but there's like his gaze on women is very, very soft. Like really it's coming from a place of like tenderness and adoration, like worship almost. It's like
yes, they put them up on a pedestal. Definitely. It's almost like this is like one of the few Black male artists who can depict women, you know, in a really wonderful way, you know, instead of
that's beautiful. Let me follow him right now.
He's excellent. He's amazing. Yeah. So
is
many
there
people,
anything else?
Oh my goodness, the list would go on and on and on, you know. I mean, I love, you know, Kehinde Wiley. I love like some of the wilder stuff, you know. Yeah, I can't even start. I don't. You know. Check who I'm following on Instagram.
Your Instagram. I'm gonna follow you. Go check out your Instagram feed and then follow everybody you're following that's an artist. Okay, I mean, has art always been a part of your life? Because you did go and study law. So when have you always been an artist, meaning like your art was kind of always part of your life, or was there like a moment of discovery where you are like, okay, you know, I'm really interested in this, I want to like pursue it further? What you know, how did the lawyer become an artist? Or was it that the artist, you were always an artist and then you went to become a lawyer?
I was an artist first. I studied art in school. When I finished high school, I went and did a foundation course. And that was like a big fight with my family. They were not interested in that. Africans, you know, I don't know what your parents would have said if you wanted to become an artist. They would, no, what's wrong with you? You know, there's no choice. You can be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer.
Yeah, and your own mother too was a diplomat. So can you imagine?
Yeah, so my family would only agree. The closest I could get to art was to be a fashion designer. So it wasn't really my thing, but I went in there and did it anyway. But then I found that I just did not belong there. You know, I mean, I like fashion and all that, but it wasn't my passion. I didn't feel driven by it, but I stuck with it for a while. And eventually I just realized this is never going to work for me. So then I became a lawyer. Which is good as well. I mean, I liked it. No, it's not. It took a long time. It was like really a long decision to, you know, decide, okay, I'll go and do the law degree, go to the bar and all that. But even that, I found it to be very creative. I did litigation, so it's like that's a performance. It's a performance. You're the screenwriter, you're the director, you're the actor. You got your witnesses lined up. You have to, you're putting on a show, really.
I mean, this is the first We will be right back after this short message from our brand partner, the Dollhouse Boutique. The Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast is supported by the Dollhouse Boutique, an American household brand for one-of-a-kind fashion and bespoke creations. Find your next stylish look at shopdollhouseboutique.com. We have stores in Baltimore, Maryland, and Los Angeles, California, showing the best of local designers. Our first international fashion boutique opens in Sierra Leone in 2022. Until then, find us on Instagram at Dollhouse MT Vernon. That's Dollhouse MT Vernon. And now, make we go back to the show. This is the first time I've seen law described with such colors.
It's drama. It's drama. Although you have to know the law, you have to know your case, you got to know the witnesses, you got to know what to say, but it's drama. I mean, picking a jury is drama.
Get it. It when you say it, I see it. It is a production. It is a production, and you are telling a story, and you are trying to paint a picture for
in the way that you want it painted,
for the jury or whoever. So I definitely see how it's this performance, but I definitely would not have thought that's definitely not the first part of it that comes to my mind.
That's the way that I've always seen it. Talking about
being a lawyer, that it's this production, it's a show where you get to play all these different roles. Who are the younger artists in Sierra Leone that you feel like really have a perspective or point of view that are your favorites, that you feel like you think really have a great new perspective or fresh, or that people should be keeping an eye out for?
I think, I mean, I don't want to name names or, leave people out or, get myself into some kind of trouble. So I think everybody that's in the Barray has really come a long way. They're really good. They're developing, even some of them that don't show up for exhibitions and stuff, really, they got so much potential. So much skill. One of the things that maybe an issue is as we were talking about before, is creativity it's not integrated into the education system. So you might find artists that are copying other people's work and things like that. But I mean, it shows that they have this skill. But I mean, you need to learn to find your own voice and say what you have to say. We're all unique, So, but this is something that it's not. We don't grow up with that in the education system. I mean, when you walk down the street, you see people selling stuff, and they're all doing it in exactly the same way. They're all selling exactly the same. No, but even chewing gum. Yeah. I remember when I first came, you seeing this person with the chewing gum. They had a little box, and they cut all the packets out and put them on top of the box, and you could see all this. It looked like decor, but then you turn around, everybody's done the same thing. People don't think creatively and let me be a little bit different. It's always
I know you've tried to shy away from this question, which is fine. I understand as the curator, you cannot be seen to be playing favorites of anybody. Right. Okay, for somebody who's never been to the Barray Arts, why don't you tell us who the artists are, and something about their work that would allow somebody to understand, what to expect, who's doing sculpture, who's doing, acrylic work, who's doing digital arts, who are the artists and who to be looking out for. And we can talk about all of them because I'm here for that.
Okay. So, the setup has changed, and it does change. It's like a rotating thing. And we try to bring in different people. They might not be born in Sierra Leone, but they're connected to Sierra Leone. People come in and out, and, we try to get as many people involved as possible. I think that makes it more interesting, and, it sort of widens the base of friendships and networks as well.
So let's talk about the artists who were in the last exhibition. So in the
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Indestructible
Yeah.
exhibition. So let's talk
So we've
about
got
those ones.
Okay, so like we've got Julius Parker. He does batik work. He does paintings in watercolor. He also does cartoons, and he's multi-talented. He's really, really good. I mean, his batik is just masterful. You know, you look at all the detail, the color, and you know, it's such a long process to create a batik. You know, and it's, you know, you go through the different stages with the colors, yet he is able to retain so much detail and so much purity of color, and they're just amazing. I don't know if you remember seeing them. And then he also does
I've seen his I have my friend Edeline has a couple of his
Oh
pieces.
yeah,
I
he has a class
believe
of his own, you know.
it's
Yeah,
like fabulous. It's really
exactly,
fabulous. It's just
exactly.
like
Yeah,
definitely a collector's item. It's one of those pieces I feel like
absolutely.
if I was leaving Sierra Leone or I went to Sierra
Yeah,
Leone and I wanted to have something to showcase, like this is Sierra Leone, I would
definitely.
definitely want one of his pieces. So yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't know his
I
name,
mean,
but thank you
yeah, it's
for introducing us.
Julius Parker. And
Julius
yeah, I have
Parker.
a number of his pieces of work as well. You know, I struggle. I'm like, I really want this piece, but you know, I do buy his work. You know, and
Okay.
then there was Felix Rhodes. Felix is he's really amazing too. He's like very expressive in his work. He explores a lot of different, you know, types of things. A lot of it is very detailed and complex, you know, like landscapes with people. And he likes to talk a lot about Sierra Leone in his paintings, the local, his neighborhood, and, you know, the people that he sees around him and things like that.
Who are
And
you
it's a
talking
mix.
about? Felix?
Felix Rhodes, yeah. And
You
sometimes it's a
know,
mixture
Felix and
of
I were
realism.
in school together briefly. We were in
Okay.
school together very briefly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it's like a
Very
mixture
briefly.
of like realism and abstract, you know, all woven together, and just like a very, yeah, I mean, it's always very poignant, eye catching and all that. And he's always experimenting and always getting bigger and doing different things. So he's definitely one to watch. Who else was in that room? Shaka Kalon. Shaka is extremely skilled. His, he does work with realism, you know, like especially local scenery and things like that. And he also does like a lot of murals and things like that. And then there was Snazzy Mustafa, Mary Conte, who you bought the masks from. Yeah, so he was with us from the very first exhibition, doing a lot of graphite pencil work, and then he went away for a while, and he came back with a bang with those masks. Those just blew everybody away. They were really awesome. Yeah,
I mean, they're still in a box because
yeah.
the money for the building that the place that I want to put them up on is not yet ready.
Okay.
But like, trust me, people go see these masks. Like they
They're awesome, just awesome. Yeah. You know,
Nice
it's
work
sort
is
of like
good.
adding value to, you know, whatever existed before.
Yeah.
We had a number of guest artists this time as well, like Mina Bilkis. She's a
Okay, Mina.
photographer. Yeah, and those were like really, really, it was her first exhibition. So they were really photographs that made a huge statement, you know, against, I guess, against the patriarchy, feminist statements. And, you know, like a lot of people, you could see people walk into the exhibition and they'll see one of her photographs and they jump back, you know, so you know that it's having an impact and getting people's, you know, attention. Who else was a guest? We had Francis. Yeah, okay, yes, I'm moving down. I'm trying not to leave anybody on the way. I'm moving down the corridor.
Gotcha.
On Francis. Francis is well established here in Sierra Leone, and he does a lot of what they call the bodos and, you know, a lot of other things. And so we had invited him. We'd been inviting him for a while, you know, so finally this time he accepted to be part of it. We also had somebody called Celine Decache, who she works in marketing with AfroCell. But she also paints, so she does a lot of abstract stuff. And, you know, like people don't really get exposed to that much here. So people were really amazed. They really loved it. You know, her use of color and the movement in her paintings, etc. Okay, let's move down. We're now in the main room. There's Rania and Manal and Hafsatu. Hafsatu was when I first met her, she was working at Radisson,
Yes, me too,
and then,
actually.
I started doing life drawing classes. So she
Yeah.
started attending those classes, and
Yeah, I saw
wow,
that
I've
you were
never seen.
teaching her. So like
Yeah,
her
we were doing like life drawing.
what amazed
Oh my
me about
goodness,
her
yeah,
is her progress in like a short
exactly.
amount of,
I've
it blew
never
my
seen
mind.
somebody
Like,
so dedicated to being successful at what they're doing, and she's just
yeah.
blown up. She's
No,
amazing.
totally.
And
Absolutely.
her,
Yeah.
I'm so happy that she decided to stick with it, because obviously she had all this inside of her that, and Radisson wasn't working for her, so she, now she's into digital art now as well,
Yeah.
which is something that I find quite fascinating as well. And her work is just, it really speaks to you. It's sort of like she's on that Afrofuturism path, it's lots of color, strong
Yep.
black, imagery and things like that. So it's
Yep.
really, really beautiful. And then there's Rania. Rania paints on glass. She's a Sierra Leonean Lebanese, born and bred, speaks every language we have in this country. Somebody tried to challenge her at one of our exhibitions, like, you're not Sierra Leonean. And she spoke to them in Timni, and then she spoke to them in Mende. So, they just shut up after that. So she works with glass, and that's like a really time-consuming activity. She goes through all her processes of getting the image and dividing up the colors and painting, and she's really, really productive. She does a lot of work. She's been doing a lot of work with the government, especially because she creates like things that they use as gifts for like foreign dignitaries and foreign corporations and things like that. So they're really, she can really create a lot of stuff with that. And then there's Manal. Manal is, I think she's a doctor or pharmacist in her other life.
Yeah, pharmacist.
But as an artist, wow. She has like an amazing sense of color. She's very unique in the work that she produces, she always, it always catches your attention, but definitely her use of color is just stunning, so definitely another one to look out for.
No, I think what's no, in the room, not everybody who was in the room. I now, when you did it by the room, who was there, I feel like I did, because I went to the exhibit. I'm like, yep, Felix was in the first room, came out, Mustafa, and like, I think,
and then there's me as well, yeah.
Oh, girl, yes, of course, it's you, the Mamina power.
Oh Lord, no, I beg, no, yeah, problem.
Oh, Lord. Like what you hear? Don't forget to leave us a review. Your reviews make it easier for others to find this podcast. Don't forget to share it with your friends and family. What's next for the collective and for you? What's coming up next? I know you just finished, and so if you're doing 2 exhibits, what's coming up next for you and your arts, and also for the collective?
Yeah, well, I need to really focus on being a lot more productive, because you can get so distracted in this place, so like most times I work in the evenings at night. I like work overnight, as I said, I'm part of other collectives as well. So that gives me an opportunity, first of all, to work in NFTs and also to do more work outside of Sierra Leone. So we recently did the hack in Paris and got a few other things lined up, which, are kind of exciting. And just to continue to expand, to create the sort of work that I want to create. Like in the beginning, I had like an idea in my head, but by the time I'm finished the painting, it doesn't look like anything, like what I initially started off with. So now I think I'm getting closer to, conceiving something and actually being able to execute it. So to continue to learn and to improve for myself, for the Barray, we'll continue to do exhibits. It would be nice if we could focus, and on doing also solo exhibits, because that's really important for an artist as well, to have that sort of thing done. So we're trying to look into ways of getting that set up. But yeah, there's a lot of things now, a lot of new things happening in the art scene. So I hope that continues and it continues to grow. I think we've inspired people to explore these things, to maybe try their hand at it. Because even me, when I first started with the Barray, because it started with another idea as well that I had to do with business bomber, and it was involved a bit of African art. So I was trying to like get artists together. I hadn't painted myself for years. And I was trying to put together artists to get like a little gallery or something. And but the artwork that I was seeing was, like, wow, it's just not that great, So I decided, let me see if I can, do something. And so that's what actually got me started back into painting from, like not being able to get the kind of work that I wanted. Not that I started off great or anything, but, from there, it led me on a path to continually practice and get better and better and better. So the quality of the work of the last exhibition for all the artists, so much. It's radically different from what we started off with, say, at that very first exhibition, So there's improvement. There's a whole load of change has taken place within the Barray and within the country. So
no, that's that's joy to my ears. I love it because, it's the conversation around, what people could do and can do in a place like Sierra Leone is always, and for a long time, been so limited to, law. And how many lawyers can you even have in one country? Or politics. Like, it's just like so small. And I think the more growth there is in the creative sector, the more people can experiment also just out of, if artists are making a living from arts, then somebody who's a musician also will break away and say, well, I really like music. If people are making money from art, maybe I could also make a living from my passion for music. And somebody else who's a chef who has a passion for food. Like, it's just like this whole kind of the creative ecosystem then becomes, go ahead.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is that creativity spans, all sectors. If you're in technology, if you're creating iPhones, for example, that's pure art, pretty much. Apart from the technical side,
absolutely.
It distinguishes an iPhone from, let's say, something else. The artwork and the design that went into that. And like designing a car, whatever, houses. You look around here, especially our houses are quite ugly in this country. I think that it's true.
Girl. Oh no. You ugly.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. People don't want to hire architects, because they think they can do themselves the design.
A builder could use some more imagination instead of thinking, as I said, everybody has this idea of this is the way it's supposed to be. We need to nurture children to think creatively. I think creativity helps you to think outside the box instead of just thinking this is the way it's supposed to be. Somebody made pots for me the other day. The same pot that everybody else has, because I wanted them to use when they're doing the cooking. And I was like, can't you design it in a different way? Can we work together and maybe do some kind of different design? He was like, no, this is the way the pot is made. And that was it, So, you can't do anything. Another thing that I'm really obsessed with is these pan bodies. They just like slap the thing together. Those things could be so beautiful. If you use your imagination, you could make a really pretty pan body. It doesn't have to look like that.
Everything is style and panache. Yeah. A little style and panache. Like, it could just
put the thing together in a different way. So this creativity, I think, when we've started, I think it will start to filter down into the rest of society. People will start taking more interest in the aesthetics of things instead of just the functionality of it. So I think it will change.
You are absolutely preaching to the choir. I'm sold. I'm with you. No, I'm all about. The reason why this entire season of the podcast is about creativity and creative entrepreneurs is really because if we spotlight the people who are doing artistic work and creative work and give it the kind of honor and regard it deserves, and people understand, like, no, people need to see what's being done. People need to hear about it so that they understand that, like, there is really a bigger movement than just because they're not seeing it in traditional media doesn't mean it's not there. But there really is a bigger movement in the in this period of Sierra Leone's, like modern Sierra Leonean culture, there's a lot going on. And I want to set fire and like make sure it explodes. Okay. So we've come to the final part of today's show, which is it's called On the Six. So on the six, I ask you 6 questions, and you have 6 seconds, fast fire questions, and you have 6 seconds to like say something. So I'm just gonna ask you the question, and you say exactly the first thing that comes to your mind.
Kind of psychological test.
Okay, so this is Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast on the 6 with artist Hawa Jane. Okay, what is your favorite Sierra Leonean parable or expression?
I was saying that one thing that I say a lot is "I say," and people make fun of me for that when I'm speaking Creole. Anything they say, I say "I say," whatever. So, Next
question. In 2 sentences, tell me the plot of the last movie you watched.
I don't really watch a lot of movies. I was watching Planet of the Apes, like a really old one, because I really think that that's like, it tells you about, I think it's like a lost history that's being rediscovered. So I find some parallels with the whole African journey, so yeah.
Okay.
Like these people
all right. What song are you listening to right now on repeat? So like, what song are you playing over and over again?
Vickie, I'm too old for that kind of thing.
Music? You're too old for music? No way.
I mean, it wouldn't be something that none of your listeners would have heard about it. I like to listen to a lot of jazz sometimes, like Miles Davis, or like older stuff like Shaka Khan, and that sort of thing.
Okay, so. We know Miles Davis, girl. We know. Okay.
Or sometimes the 80s stuff.
Okay. When you want to quit, what keeps you going?
I'm not a quitter. I don't quit. I just find other ways to turn anything that's like an obstacle into something that will help me grow. I don't like to quit. All
right. What's one thing you... What's one thing you've been meaning to do that you still haven't done?
Ooh. Oh, lots of things, girl. So many things.
That's why you can just tell us one.
Oh, geez. I don't know. I'd like to take a long vacation, and I want to go to Mexico and things like that. It's just crazy stuff, But there's lots of things.
Okay. And not last but not the least, who is one Sierra Leonean, dead or alive, that inspires you?
See one person and then leave another person out. Oh, I just say my mother. My mother inspires me.
Tell us about your mother. Who was she and what did she do?
Yeah, her name was Fama Joka Bangura. My mother was born on a rock in the river. Do you know that? And yet she was like one of the first women from the provinces to be admitted. She was the first to be admitted to like secondary school in Freetown at FSSG, and she did really well there. She ended up pursuing like diplomacy. She was an ambassador. She worked in different countries representing Sierra Leone. She was a real boss lady, and a nice person, and yeah.
And she was so she went from really fabulous. Woo,
yeah, very elegant, and like a clothes horse. She met with leaders all over the world. So yeah, she's my inspiration. I'm sorry, I'm not really good at your 6x6.
It's okay. There's no wrong answers. There's your answer. Thank you so much for making the time. This has been a fascinating conversation. I know that our audience is better off for having heard your words and your guidance, and also discovering all these artists, because I think it's so important. So yeah, I'm gonna keep my eye out for your next exhibit, your next show. I follow you on Instagram, and I know you have my WhatsApp. So
yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Let us know what's going on. Yeah. These are the things that are important. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Vickie. Thank you, and thanks to the audience.
Thank you for listening to the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast. Until next time, ta-ta!